Happy Tuesday night, everybody. Welcome to Deep in the Plus. I'm Rob Whiteside. I'll be your host. Tonight, we're doing something a little bit different. We are going to put two movies head to head. The Lion King, the 1994 animated, and The Lion King, the 2019, well, animated. And with me to do that is the man who thought it up. Gosh darn it. Eric Wolf, how are you?
Good, how are you guys? Hey.
So you were in chat with when we were either when Patrick and I were doing Avatar maybe, and something came up about live action, and you were like, we got to do this. You were like immediately, and I was like, that's brilliant. We should do that. And what was it? Do you remember what triggered you to say that?
Ooh, honestly, you mentioned something about the Lion King, like the live action remake Lion King, and then you were like, that's a story for another time. And then I was like, oh my gosh, well, the time has come.
I'm secretly brilliant. No, dude, 100% credit to you for doing that. Thanks for bringing it up. So, you know what? I think live action remakes have gotten a bad rep in the past. And, you know, recently we had Cruella come to Disney Plus and also to the theater. Did you see Cruella and did you like it?
I did. I saw Cruella in theaters, and honestly, I really, really enjoyed that film. Personally, for me, if they're going to be doing these live-action remakes, that's the way to do it. I really, really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, and that's exactly the problem, isn't it? That when they do a remake, they really need to tell a new story. Some of the things we've talked about in the past is if they took a movie that wasn't a big hit, like Atlantis. I love that movie, but it wasn't a huge hit. I don't think it has permeated, the populace. And so I think that there's an opportunity they could go and do a live-action remake of that because it's not beloved by all. It's sort of a cult classic at this point. So, I love that movie, but not everybody knows about it. It would be a great one. But when you go back and you do something like The Lion King, that pretty much everybody on the face of the earth has probably seen in one shape or another, you got to tell something different. And I think that, when we start getting into it, that's going to be, I think, the crux of it. So here's how I'd like to set this up is we're going to talk a little bit about the Lion King in general. And then we'll talk a little bit about the animated, the 1994. Then we'll talk a little bit about the 2019, compare them, and then talk about the legacy of The Lion King, the shows, the Broadway musical, the sequels, the parks, all that stuff. Sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
So the story of The Lion King is an original, which when I saw this in the theater in 1994, don't tell me if you were alive yet. I don't want to know. But when I saw this in the movie theater in 1994, I was in awe because you know what? That it's something I didn't know. I didn't really know what was going to happen. The trailer for it was really just that opening scene, and so when it came out, we were just like, you had high expectations because it was high on. 1989 was like the resurgence of Disney animation as a musical. Alan Menken did basically a musical with The Little Mermaid, and then we got Beauty and the Beast, and we had Aladdin, and then here comes an animal movie in 1994. Do you remember the first time you saw Lion King and like what you thought about the animated at the time?
Honestly, I don't remember the first time I saw that movie. The weird thing is that I remember the first like animated Disney movie I saw in theaters was The Little Mermaid. I do remember that, and I remember it, just clearly. And it's weird because I was technically not born yet, so it must have been like a re-release that they would have had in theaters. But I remember seeing that particular movie in theaters. But
okay, we're done.
King, no.
We're done. Call it. So again, it was an original concept. The Little Mermaid is based on a story. Aladdin, obviously, we know the story. Beauty and the Beast, same thing. But here's this brand new concept that was kind of a risk for them to do because they were breaking. They didn't have Howard Ashman with them at that point. He had passed away. I think that they probably would have continued making movies forever had he not. And Axel and I did a review of the biography movie Howard, which you can look up. But this was an Elton John movie as far as the music
Yeah.
goes. Elton John, Tim Rice did the music for this, and so this was new territory for that. And then also they hadn't done an animal movie in a while, at least not where they didn't wear clothes like the Rescuers.
Yeah.
So this was really something new and different. And honestly, when you're sitting in that darkened theater and the sun comes up over the savannah and you hear that, like, the chant, and you hear the music for the first time, it just gives you chills. Or is it just me?
No, definitely. Like there's something about that first note that just hits everyone, and they're like, just like, oh my gosh, like yes.
Like, I'd like to sing along with it, but I clearly don't know Swahili, so I can't sing along. But it is a fantastic intro. And they, again, like I said, they use that as the trailer, and that's really all they needed to use as the trailer. It is an animated, hand-drawn animated film, and it looks beautiful. Coming from the same studio that gave us, like, the Aristocats, this is one, and again, no shade at the Aristocats, but the animation had come so far by the time this movie came out. It just was beautiful. Yeah. I mean, obviously they were mixing some media, but it was a beautifully done movie. And then, we have the basic story here after this amazing, incredible opening of Simba, and he is, he loves his dad and he wants to be king, and they keep hyping him up that you're going to be king. And then there's Scar, and he's the villain, the brother who didn't get the throne. He hatches this plot to overthrow Mufasa and basically kill him. And the death scene in this, and we're talking about the animated one, seemed to go on forever. I mean, Bambi's mom gets shot, and you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened? There's an echo of the bullet, and you know what happened. This was pretty intense, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. It's such a weird, like, I don't know, for like a quote unquote kids movie, like it was a lot.
Yeah. So he, Mufasa dies. I don't think we're any spoilers here on a 1994 movie. But Mufasa dies, and there's always that absentee parent situation in a lot of these old Disney or old movies, is that, a parent or both parents dies. Still happens all the time. So he passes away, or he dies. He's murdered by Scar, but Simba doesn't know that. And then here comes the lie. This is something we talked about when Patrick and I talked about Avatar last week, is there's the lie, right? So there's the lie that will come out in the third act, just before the third act, which then the hero has to overcome, whether it's Meg and her lie to Hercules, or it's, this lie that, Simba didn't want to tell anybody because he believed his uncle, and now he's ashamed and he runs away because he thinks he killed his dad. Had this not happened, there would be no story, and then here we are. So, it's really intense, though, when he dies. This whole, like, this swarm of why am I blanking? What are they called? Wildebeest.
Yeah.
I was on Kilimanjaro Safari when we saw wildebeest at Animal Kingdom in Orlando, and I said to somebody that was with me, I was like, oh, they're the ones that killed Mufasa, and the driver actually heard us turn back and said, actually, Scar killed Mufasa. And we were like, I was like, oh, okay, you just keep your eye on the road, buddy. But I always think of that that stampede when I think of this. When I always think of that stampede when I see wildebeest.
Yeah,
Is that just
sure.
me?
No. It's definitely like a thing. Like it's so traumatic. Like it really is.
He goes off and he finds Timon and Pumbaa, the sassy sidekicks. They raise him to be an herbivore, but not really, because he's eating bugs, so he's still killing things. And then he matures in one of, I think, the greatest transition scenes of all time. When he's young Simba and he jumps out over time, like, you see the shadow of him on the tree as he's grown up. I think that's an amazing transition, and it's really great in the Broadway presentation of it, where young Simba goes out. And have you seen the Broadway show?
I have. I actually have. Yeah.
So that when he comes in, it's just like, again, it's like a hero moment when he comes out.
Yeah.
And so I love that. And we could talk about that and how they do that in the live action movie as well. But then he's all grown up. He's Hakuna Matata, no worries. He's just going to live out on the land, just doing his thing because no worries. Nala comes in. She's going to be like the reason he's got to go back. There's a lot of love scene between he and Nala that had this been humans, I don't think this would have been a G-rated movie.
Right.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know. It's been a minute since I've watched this movie.
I definitely get you there. Yeah.
Yeah. So the music in this, as we talked about, is amazing, but they're all show-stopping numbers. They don't really move the story forward. They just kind of stop the story, and they're all kind of over the top. Like, obviously, there's that kind of dream-like drug sequence of Just Can't Wait to Be King. The dark sequence of Scar singing Be Prepared, that's very Nazi-ish. I mean, it's a very intense scene. And then, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? It's just like, them chilling out and doing whatever lions do. So it's really, they don't forward the story along seemingly, but in the Broadway show, they feel like they do, I think. So I don't know why I feel a disconnect on that.
Yeah. Ooh, off the top of my head, I can't remember now that precise moment on the Broadway, but I do agree with you. It's a little, they make it a little more meaningful, I guess you can say.
So Rafiki shows up and he's like, and this is the meanest thing in this entire movie. Rafiki shows up and says, he's like, "Oh, my father's dead," and he goes, "No, correction, your father's still alive." I mean, I know he means it metaphorically, but that's really cruel. He's like, he is alive. Come on, I'll show you. I mean, it never occurred to me how evil that little thing is. And again, I get that he means it metaphorically, but if somebody, like, my father passed away, if somebody is like, "Hey, your father's alive," I would just be like, "What? Like, this is mean." And it's just like, I don't, and it happens in all of it. So I feel like Rafiki's a little bit of a sadist, maybe? I don't know. So then, he says, "You've got to come back, remember who you are." They go back to fight Scar. Here's a question for you. When they go back to Pride Rock, it's decimated, and I get that because the hyenas have eaten all the stock there, and so there's no animals to eat the grass and the circle of life and how all that works. But the skies are gray as if there has been a smog pollution situation. Is that something that happens? I'm asking. I really don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that was very much just animation. But they keep it though in the next movie though. So they do. They do.
And then there's a weird slow motion trippy fight with Scar too. That was kind of weird.
Yeah,
like this, like they left out segments of animation almost to slow it down so that it's more. I don't know. It's very, again, seeing it through 2021 lens, that part is a little bit weird to me, but the rest of it I feel like is pretty strong. So that's just like that movie in a nutshell. What are your thoughts on that movie as far as that one goes? Do you have any special feelings about that movie in particular? Do you just love the canon of The Lion King? Like, where are you at with all that?
So, I really enjoy... I think I enjoy more than anything the music of The Lion King, which when we get into the live action movie, I feel very strongly about the music of The Lion King.
All right.
Yeah, but I like the dynamic, and you know what? Honestly, I like the voice cast of the animated movie. Like, I have the voice cast pulled up here. You have Matthew Broderick.
Whoa. Let's do this. Let's do this. Before we go any further,
Yeah.
Let's trip into the voice cast versus the voice cast. Are you
Ooh.
ready to do that,
Oh,
Eric?
okay,
Let,
let's
let
go.
me let me start with this. So Zazu, the incomparable Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkins versus John Oliver. I mean, who wore it best here? Who's a better Zazu?
Okay, so I'm not even playing. I really enjoy both of these. This was actually a character that they casted really well in the live action movie and really well in the animated. But at the same time, since I was so young when this movie came out, I had no idea what he sounded like because of the fact that I only knew him for Mr. Bean. And then later on, I saw him in like Rat Race. But like, I
What a
only knew
quality
him.
movie that was! I mean, oh my gosh, Rat
I only
Race,
knew him for Mr. Bean, so I didn't know it was him until a
phenomenal,
long while.
phenomenal. Brandy says Team Bean.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and Nico the Greco says Bean. So I feel like that's pretty unanimous. I don't know if there are any John Oliver fans out there in the chat, but you know, bless him for the show that he does and all that. I'm not really sure he's the guy. Dawn says I have no problem with John Oliver. David Lung says Mr. Bean. So I mean I feel like he's kind of you know the quintessential Zazu. There's something about
yeah.
him that's like that to me is like more so. I feel like that the John Oliver is him trying to be Mr. Bean at that point. Let me
Yeah.
jump to one a little bit more controversial. Timon,
Uh,
Nathan Lane, or Billy Eichner?
nah, Nathan Lane all the way.
You know what? I would have said that before I rewatched it. I kind of dig the Billy Eichner. And the problem is that I like Billy Eichner's style, his sarcasm,
Okay.
his wit. He was on New Girl. He did this whole thing with as like an airline, like a ticket guy that was just hilariously funny. I love Billy on the Street. Maybe that's why. I mean, Nathan Lane, quintessential Timon. Got it. But I do like a little bit of Billy Eichner's take on that one. So, but you're Nathan Lane all the way.
Yeah, Nathan Lane. Again, like I said, I watched the live action or the remake, I guess you can say, the remake this morning, and yeah, the both of the Timons are very different at the same time. So I definitely get Billy. But yeah, Nathan Lane's Timon is my Timon.
my Timon. Okay. All right. So, and forgive me for a second here. I'm looking up. I don't recall. All right. So let me skip over to this one. I'm. This is a toughie. Scar. Who are
No,
we liking here? Because by the way,
Jeremy.
I'm not gonna try to pronounce his name because I will butcher it. Do you like New Scar?
Oh, I have no idea. He's the guy from Doctor Strange. That's all I know.
There you go, guy from Doctor Strange. No, yeah. But you agree, Jeremy Irons on this one, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So let me tell you a couple of reasons why also Jeremy Irons is. Number one, I feel like he's doing a Jeremy Irons impression, and I feel that with some of
Yeah.
this when they're doing the character. Secondly, Jeremy Irons was really singing. I feel like they changed the song for the new movie is called "Be Prepared 2019," and I think it's because he couldn't do the singing, and so it's more of him just speaking long. And the words
Yeah.
are different and the whole thing. So he definitely has like an evil tone to him. I did love him in the Doctor Strange movie, but also Jeremy Irons. I mean, Spaceship Earth. So I feel like, and then
Yeah.
now he's Alfred in the Snyder cut. So. So I don't know if there's anybody else out there. Most of the people are saying Irons. Chief Lee says we need Jeremy back at Spaceship Earth. I agree. Like, I don't know who we're going to do in Spaceship Earth next time around, but it feels like we had Walter Cronkite, and then we went British. It feels like it's kind of time to bring it back to America. I don't know.
Yeah,
Here's the other problem I have but in the original, is that Jeremy Irons is the actor, and he's doing a British accent because that's his accent. Why is Mufasa's brother British? And then also on top of that, like, why is he named Scar? Somebody said that to me before. Like, why is he named Scar? Did they know? Like, was he pre-scarred when he was born, or I don't know.
Did he? That's
I don't
true.
know. All right, so here we go. Here we go back to the twosome, the terrible twosome. Here's Pumbaa. You got Ernie and you got Seth. What? Oh, I see you struggling with this one. Are you struggling with this one?
Yeah, just a little bit. I really like Ernie, but Seth wasn't bad in the role. He wasn't. I think he was one of those perfect casting that it was like, well, if we're gonna do a remake, give it to Seth Rogen. That's fine.
But again, it seemed like he was doing sort of an impression of Ernie. I mean,
everyone in this movie.
but he had his own take on it. Like, in other words, he was still Seth Rogen in his comedy and his timing. So I still see that. Correct. All right, this one might be a tough one. Adult Simba.
No, Matthew. No,
really?
Matthew, for sure. Yeah. I really.
Not Childish Gambino. Like, come on, man.
I really like him, but no. I gotta go Matthew Broderick.
Back to Simba. Nico says Ernie, obviously.
Yeah.
So
I get you.
A lot of Ernies. But they're also stuck on Tomorrow's Child and Spaceship Earth. We've sent them spiraling in the chat. They're talking about Spaceship Earth. So, all right. So, what do we choose here?
This one's a hard one. This one.
You're like old James Earl Jones or older James Earl Jones?
It's such a weird thing to think about. Like, even, because when you think Mufasa, you think him. And I find it funny that even Disney got to that point that they were like, well, we can't recast him. Let's make the movie pretty much exactly the same. But we can't recast James. Like, I don't know. It was weird to hear his voice with this like photorealistic lion, but then not have like everyone else that we kind of know. It was a little weird. It was a little weird.
Darth Vader is what. So they, you know what? Let's go ahead. Like, y'all talking about Spaceship Earth still. Let's get James Earl Jones.
Ooh.
Let's get him to do Spaceship Earth. Let's just do it. Let's just lock it in now. Go ahead and get that recorded.
That would be fun.
Who even knows? They may already have that recorded. I don't know.
Right, they could,
But there was a bit they did on Family Guy once where I think it was Family Guy where like the clouds, no, it was The Simpsons, where the clouds popped up and it was James Earl Jones and it was like Simba, remember who you are, and then Darth Vader pops up and says, Luke, I'm your father, and then his face pops up and says, this is CNN. Because it's not like he's doing a voice, he's just James Earl Jones. Like, exactly. That's what he is, and it's amazing, freaking amazing, like, no doubt.
Yep.
All right, so far, I feel like you've picked all original cast so far.
Pretty much,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
No, for sure, original.
Really, Moira Kelly? Okay, not.
I thought that was a gimmick. Yeah. I really thought that was just a gimmick. That was a way of putting people in the seats. I was actually really surprised that she sang like a song when they're running back from like where Timon and Pumbaa are back to the Pride Lands. She sang a song, but it wasn't like we're looking at Nala singing a song, because that's what I thought it was going to be. At first, when I heard that she was going to be cast, I was like, oh, Nala's gonna have this bigger role, and we're gonna have some like singing, like whole number for Nala now. And no offense to Nala, like she could, but I was just like, we don't need it. And the only reason why they'll probably do it is because they casted Beyonce in this role. But I honestly think she didn't do anything. Like,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. All right. I got a couple more, and then we'll move on.
let's do it.
So Florence Kasumba or Whoopi Goldberg?
Man, I like Whoopi in this role, but I guess it's because they gave Shenzi such a bigger role in this in the remake that I actually like. I forgot her name.
Florence better. You
I like Florence.
better?
Yeah,
Yeah, and you know what? It does give it more depth. I will agree to that. It does give it more depth. In a movie where it needs to be different, it does give it a little bit more depth that she's kind of like the whole leader of that. And there's,
yeah,
in the first movie, it's just like the three of them, and it's like Cheech and Whoopi and Ed, and they're just like goofing around, and then there's just a whole bunch of others that are nondescript.
yeah,
And this one, it seems like it's really kind of like they all have their place. Keegan-Michael Key is funny in this one. I like him in this role.
yeah,
I think that Eric Andre is good in this role. They didn't make it just like Ed again. So he
yeah.
really had some character to him. So I would agree to that. So, but I think Whoopi Goldberg is just super iconic in that. Do you have
Yeah.
a dog in this fight?
Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna go Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Oh, I switched it back. I'm sorry. I meant this one. Yeah.
No, you're good. Jonathan Taylor Thomas for me. Um, the new kid, JD.
J.D. McCrary.
Yeah, I I I don't know. I feel like it was like I feel bad, but I feel like it was his like first time acting, and it was like weird to put him in like a voiceover role because it's like he's never done that, and I don't think he was directed very well. But it was weird. And then the only song that he pretty much sings is "I Just Can't Wait to Be King," and that was kind of flat for me as well. So
Well, JTT did not sing his version of that.
oh
So,
yes,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just making sure we knew that. Okay, so again, you kind of lean, even in the cast, you kind of lean towards the original in most of that stuff, right? Okay. But here's another thing. So we're going to start talking about the comparison between the two. That's why we're here. We're going to talk about that. The second movie is a half hour longer than the first. And I don't know why. Like, it feels like some of the stuff is literally shot for shot. That opening scene is literally shot for shot of the opening scene, with the birds running toward the camera, the bowing, the Rafiki. It's all shot for shot, the exact same thing, and the pacing seems like it would be about the same. So
I don't know. I have to disagree with you on the pacing. I feel like in the 2019 version, the remake, it's slower at times.
yeah, no, I agree with
for
you.
no reason.
I guess that's what I'm saying is, like, it feels like a lot of it's the same, and then there's some things that are a little bit worse. And I'll mention one in particular right now. In the first movie, when the wind blows and Rafiki gets like the flowers that like Simba has been around, and he mixes them up and he goes, "Oh, Simba's alive." There is this just long, unnecessarily long scene, kind of gross too, where like he loses some fur and it goes in the water and it gets picked up by a bird who puts it into a bird's nest, but the mama bird doesn't like it, so she dumps it and it falls into a tree where a giraffe eats it, and then he poops it out, and then a dung beetle pushes it across the desert where it falls down and hits a rock, and then the that pops out, and then an ant picks it up and then carries it into the tree where Rafiki is, and I'm like, this is time to get up and go to the bathroom. I mean, there's no reason for that. And that may be part of the 30 minutes that's added on to this movie.
Right?
Like
I
what?
feel like sometimes the director and sometimes the cinematographers and stuff just want to flex. They just want to flex and be like, "You see all this? No, we didn't shoot this. We made all this in a computer." And that scene was definitely one of those scenes.
By the way, Patrick is in chat saying, "Don't anger the Bayhive." So, and also Chief Leaf said that that scene made me laugh. It was so bad. It is bad. And again, you know, I'm a person that likes to like things, and it's really hard. But I was just like, "What are we doing?"
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just that. But you're right. It was very beautiful, and that gets me to a point about this other movie that. So in 2016, The Jungle Book came out.
Yeah.
I was not going to be a fan of The Jungle Book, but I was at D23. I was like the flex that I've been to all the D23s so far. I don't know if I can keep that up,
Nice.
but I was at the live action panel where they rolled it out. And of the movies they were going to roll out, it was not the one I was most excited about. I'm not a huge Jungle Book fan. I like it. It's classic and all that. But when they showed the footage of The Jungle Book, I was like, wow, this is kind of amazing. And like the realism of the whole thing. And so I feel like Jon Favreau really kind of kicked it into overdrive as far as the live action thing. But that story had a little bit of variance from the actual cartoon or animated. Let's not call it a cartoon. It is an animated masterpiece. So it varied a little bit. And then when you go back and you see like how he had to film some of the stuff like twice, like once in reality and once in mocap. Just amazing what they put together. And so when they said he was going to be doing The Lion King, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And I was at D23 when they rolled it out, and he came up on stage, Jon Favreau did, and he was like, hey, I wouldn't come to D23 without something. Here's the first scene of The Lion King. And they played that first scene. And oh man, I wasn't crying, you were crying. Like, I mean, literally bawling like a baby, like, oh my God, it's so great. And and I was like, this is the movie I can't wait for. And then they started rolling out the cast. I'm like, Donald Glover, I love Donald Glover. Somebody else mentioned this earlier in chat, Troy, and I bet in the morning. Like, I mean, Donald Glover's great. I mean, everything he does is fantastic. So I was a huge, huge fan of this movie before it came out. That opening scene played again. I was like, I wanted to show my daughter, like, look how cool baby Simba is, and he just looks so real, and he's adorable, and just don't you want to hug him? When that scene ends, I'm kind of done with this movie. And I mean it still today. It is a beautiful intro. And how they take all of these, like the birds flying in and all that shot-for-shot stuff, it is a beautiful, it is just staggering the level of CGI that we have in this movie. Being a fan of like movies like Tron that are just, but this movie's so good. But after that first scene, I'm literally done because everything else was almost same dialogue, same motions, and I'm like, I liked it the first time. Yeah. Do you disagree?
No, I 100% agree with you.
This is going to be a problem.
I was lucky enough to see it with Disney actually before the movie came out, and it was like you said. First intro, you hear that, classic Circle of Life song. It's done beautifully, but then right after that, it just kind of doesn't hit the mark. And everything after that, because it's weird, because they did such a beautiful job with Circle of Life, and then the next song, which is I Just Can't Wait to Be King, didn't hit the mark for me. Then you have
Be Prepared.
Hakuna Matata. Oh, I don't even count that.
Ouch.
I don't count that spoken word or poetry that they did. Not even, like, Be Prepared is such a classic villain song, and they just butchered it. But yeah.
I still say that it's probably because he just couldn't sing. But just, like, the imagery here of Pride Rock, when in that opening scene with the sun and the animals and just, oh my gosh, it was on point. It was so good. And then I don't know if it's just after that you're just like, I've seen it. Like, I'm done. Like, maybe it just needed to be just a short. Maybe it just needed to be that intro redone, just to go, look what we can do. Isn't this awesome? Again, Patrick and I talked about Avatar last week, and when we were talking about that one, we were talking about how good the CGI was, and he said he saw flaws in it at some points. So again, I think this is even beyond that, and at that time, that was bleeding edge, what they did with Avatar, and then here, 10 years later, what they really put together with this movie is the future. This is what created Mandalorian. I mean, this is all of the stuff that, that you see where you can't tell, is it real or is it animation? And that's why we're calling this live action, but it is still an animated movie, really, because the lions are animated. They didn't teach them how to do that, or the old school Air Bud where they put peanut butter in their mouth and their mouths move, and then they have some it's really just incredible to see. But the story is exactly the same, and I just need something else. When they're doing this, I just need anything else when they're doing this. Before we get back on the hate train about this one, I do want to to hit you with a couple trivia questions from the first. And again, in chat, please play along with us here. A couple of trivia questions from the first movie. Okay, you ready? Because you just saw these, right? You just saw them again.
I saw the remake. Okay. I thought I would know the animated, so we'll see if I do.
Here we go. All right, so Phenomenal Brandy, by the way, said it's live-ish. Granted,
live-ish, yeah,
again, when that opening scene comes in, you see the savannah, and I was like, oh my gosh, it almost looks real, and I'm like, wait a minute, that part is real. That part is real. That's actually there. But or maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to say. So here's the thing. So in the first movie, and honestly in the second movie, so that'll help you. It takes 5 minutes into the movie before any character says anything. Who's the first character to speak, and do you know what their first line is? Because it's the same in both movies.
I'm going to say Zazu. And I don't know exactly what he says, but I want to say it was something about missing, the coronation or whatever they call it. I don't even know what they call it. But missing his...
They call it his ceremony. The ceremony.
Missing his nephew's ceremony.
Yeah. I'm kind of looking in chat to see if anybody else... I'm seeing Zazu. Rafiki was one. It was actually Scar. First 5 minutes go on without... nobody talks. Then the mouse shows up after the big thing. And then he gets the mouse and he says, "Life's not fair, is it?" And both times, it's exactly the same. True. Grabbing, and then there's all the whole cheesy jokes that are done exactly the same. You made me lose my lunch. Again, you shouldn't play with your food. They did both of those jokes in both movies. It's not funny. That's where the joke is you hadn't heard it before. So that's that one. This one, I think it's going to be really tough for you.
Okay.
And it's probably not a fair question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I told you these numbers were showstoppers, and Just Can't Wait to Be King, which they actually feature in Mickey's PhilharMagic, and is like a Be Our Guest, where it's there's just all this trippy stuff going on.
Yeah.
What color are the monkeys in the Just Can't Wait to Be King? Yeah, see, it's too unfair. It's too unfair. You want to guess?
So, the weird thing is, in my mind, as you were talking, I was like, purple monkeys, red hippos. I was literally thinking that. I'm going to go purple, because that's what I had in mind. I have no idea why.
I think they're blue, but I'll give you purple, because I do think that they're very close. So that's pretty freaking amazing, by the way, my friend. Pretty freaking amazing. Okay. Simba is Swahili meaning what?
Simba is, isn't it lion?
You are correct.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Patrick said blue, by the way. So I saw purple, nice. I saw purple, I saw blue. So I think it's It's one of those where it's like, I'm not really sure what color it is. But I think you guys, if you said purple or you said blue, you're spot on. Okay, so I got one last one for you.
All
ready?
right, let's do it.
In the first movie, there is only one non-original song. Do you know the song, and do you know the artist, the original artist?
Non-original song would have been The Lion Sleeps Tonight. And I don't know who the original artist is, actually.
Dude, I'm impressed. I'm impressed that you pulled that one out, though, because it's so synonymous anymore with this movie, because I feel like even in the Festival of the Lion King show at Animal Kingdom, they still do that one too, the whole Weem-away thing. But it was a band called the Tokens, so there's no reason that you should have necessarily known that. But anyway, I kind of like playing along with the trivia thing, especially because it's so fresh for us that we've just seen it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times when I'm watching these things for the third or fourth or fifth time, then there was a trend going on Twitter in the past week about what movie do you think you've seen 10 times or more? Is this one you think you've seen 10 times or more?
No, honestly.
Okay. Then again, good on you. You really nailed it. Okay. So let's get back to the. But before we do,
Yeah.
we got some business. So,
yeah.
got some business. So, again, for those of you who've never watched the show, thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. We love doing these things. We do it every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can rewatch. This is our 70th show review, so you can go back and watch previous shows that Wolf and I have done. Patrick done a lot of them in covering all things Disney Plus. So TV shows, movies, High School Musical to Avatar to The Good Dinosaur. So go ahead and look back and watch some of the old ones, but we appreciate you being here. But if we can get 50 likes, and I think right now we're at 35, but if we can get 50 likes in a show, Disney Parks people like unboxing. So we're going to unbox this new Wishable, which is a Cars Wishable, because of Wolf's infatuation with Pixar. So that's why we picked this one.
Nice.
So if we can get to 50, we'll do that. And then what we've been doing recently is we've been giving it away to somebody who leaves a comment below afterwards. So last week was Space Wrangler. Congratulations. Patrick was the one who picked that winner, and he will be getting apparently his first Wishable ever. So we're really excited about
cool.
that. Yep. So hopefully we're starting first one's free. After that, you've got a habit. You've got a problem. Anyway, so thanks again for watching. Please give us a thumbs up if you haven't already. Please like and subscribe to this channel. And every little bit helps us, because we really love doing this with you guys each and every week. So let's get back to the hate train, because I'm ready. I'm ready to do this, because again, I feel like this is the one, though. All of the live actions that are out there, this is the one that I had up on this pedestal is going to be my favorite of all time, and it just let me down. I mean, it just did. Like Aladdin, a lot of people hate on that one. I like Aladdin. I'll fight you on Aladdin. I like Aladdin because it has a little bit of a different. You've got the hat on. I see you.
Yeah. We have to review that one soon, also, because I have things to say about that one as well. Yeah.
Well, I like the whole idea of the verses. I really do. I really think that this is a good idea. Hopefully you guys in the chat will let us know if you think it's a good idea too. But, that's the thing, is Disney's making so many of these remakes, and some of them, like Cruella, is a completely new retelling. We don't know that story. Maleficent was a completely new retelling of characters that we already know. Aladdin took that and made it bigger. I feel like Beauty and the Beast took it and made it bigger as well.
Yeah.
But with this one, they just stayed in the lane. Every bit of it stayed in the lane, except when it comes to the music. Now, here's the thing I have, and I think a lot of people have talked about this, like Shadowlands, or He Lives in You, or The Morning Report, which were songs. Some of them came from Le Boheme. There was a soundtrack called I think Pride of the Shadowlands, maybe. That where he did a lot of very traditional music that was like an accompaniment to the original movie soundtrack. It wasn't movie songs from the movie. It was like an accompaniment. And He Lives in You was on that. It was not in the first movie, but it made it into the Broadway show. The Morning Report, which is Zazu's song, made it into the show. That was one for the Broadway show. I would think when you come back to this material, you might add some of that stuff in. And these are songs that I really love, that because they're different and because that's where I saw them on stage and so big and so beautiful. And He Lives in You is just, oh my gosh, it's just again, the chills. That's not what they did. No, we get Spirit. Talk to me about that, because I feel like you've got thoughts.
I just didn't enjoy it. It's a weird place to put that song also. And again, like, I thought it was gonna be this big huge thing, like Nala was gonna get her own song, and it was gonna be in a, like a pivotal point of the movie, and they're running back to the Pride Lands. Let's just play that song.
Spirit. Yeah, I honestly, I don't know what they were thinking in that one. And you're right. Like, Jasmine gets her own song in the Aladdin movie. So
good
yeah,
song,
I mean again, they're kind of retconning, righting some wrongs in a lot of cases. It's not the damsel in distress anymore in a lot of these cases. So I feel like there was a missed opportunity here for them to incorporate some of that music that was there. I mean, Beauty and the Beast, same thing. They went, they made a stage show. They added some songs in there, and one of those songs they actually added back into the regular I think it was an IMAX release. Proud of Your Boy is one that came out on the Aladdin DVD. And was it in the live action movie? I feel like it's in the Broadway musical. I know that for sure. Proud of Your Boy.
No, but, if I'm not mistaken, it's not.
Yeah, so, we'll know when we watch it again. But again, I saw the Broadway show on Broadway when it first opened. I thought to myself, how are they going to do this? Like, how are they going to make animals and not make it corny? And the puppets and Julie Taymor's direction was just so amazing that it made me really kind of fall in love with theater again, and just so cutting edge. And so, I mean, I just loved that. I went and saw her rendition of Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark. I liked it.
Oh, nice.
Apparently it didn't work. Yeah. No Spider-Men were hurt in the production that I saw.
Good.
But she just reinvented it. Like, all of the things that we see, like in the Animal Kingdom, and a lot of the things like that winter menagerie, the Merry Menagerie, that feels very Julie Taymor from The Lion King. There's so much of that stuff that kind of has moved into the Animal Kingdom and in that show that gives you that feel of animals that they brought in. When that elephant comes down the aisle and goes up on the stage, it's just so amazing. It was so well done. And so then to get this treatment of a movie, so frustrating, because again, it's such a great IP. And I wish they had put some better stuff in here instead of going for a brand new song.
Yeah.
And again, no shade if you are out there and you love Beyonce and you love this song. That's great. I just don't think it should have been.
Yeah, that's
here.
fine. Yeah.
I just don't think it should have been here. But then there's also this cheese. I hate to say cheesy about Sir Elton John, but there's a song in the credits that he sings that is not from anything else, and I forget the name of it, because finding a track list honestly was hard to find for the 2019 soundtrack. But he sings this song that doesn't seem to have anything to do with anything at the end of the credits, and it just felt really kind of off. So I mean, you've got the perfect music for this. Like, there's so many of these songs that as you're hearing them, be prepared. Just Can't Wait to Be King. It's just these are iconic songs. They're part of Disney history at this point, and it just really feels like they wheel them out for Happily, or they wheel them out for, I'm sure some of them will be represented in at some point, probably in Harmonious, maybe, I don't know, because there's not really a place for that, but maybe. So I just, the music means a lot to me, and I feel like they kind of misstepped with that one. So then I talked about the tirelessly long scene, the long painful scene with the fur returning to Rafiki. I think Cloud Mufasa was cool in the second one. I think they pulled that off somewhat cool, like
Yeah,
almost
that was
reliable.
okay. Yeah, I agree.
Then they added Spirit, but again, no, he lives in you. Not that's not in there. No
No.
music from the musical, and it was interesting that they do a little gag in the Lion King first movie with Zazu singing "It's a Small World" and Scar saying
Yeah.
anything but that, and they do another gag in this one with instead of the hula skirt that Timon and Pumbaa do the sort of be our guest thing. You're hemming and hawing. That doesn't resonate with you?
I don't think it hit as well as It's a Small World. Like I don't know. It was a little weird to me. Like I think it was funny, but it was a little weird for them to be that meta. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, let's talk about one more thing that's different because there aren't a lot of things different. And again, if you go back and watch them both, and if after you watch this you feel like you need to, go ahead. But this was
Yeah.
only the second time I've watched the live action Lion King because I was so disappointed in it. I mean, you talked about the pacing; it did feel long.
Yeah, I think
I
so.
mean, it is just a little over 2 hours, whereas the original one's about an
Yeah.
hour and a half, and it's saying the same stuff. So I don't really know I don't know why that's the thing. There are two different things that happen in this one that caught my attention. One is that the reason that that Simba's in the canyon is to practice his roar, whereas in the first
Yeah.
movie he says, "Hey, your dad's got a present for you," and he's like, "Well, I like it," and he goes, "Simba, it's to die for."
Die for.
There's a
Yep.
lot of wordplay in this thing, but in this one he's like, "Hey, practice your roar." And he goes to
Yeah.
practice his roar, and the stampede happens, and now he actually feels like this is his fault. I feel like that
Yes.
was actually a stronger motivation. No?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think they tweaked that just enough for it to make sense for him to have the guilt that he has throughout the rest of the movie. And I also think, well, I don't know what else you're gonna point out. So I'll let you point out that second one that you have, and then if
Okay,
it's not the
maybe-
one that I'm
maybe the-
thinking of,
Maybe it's not. In the second one, when Scar comes to see the hyenas, they don't already have kind of a bond at that point. They still see him as an outsider, and he has to kind of like smooth talk his way into like telling them his plan. And in the first one, it seems like they're in cahoots already, right? They're
Yeah.
already like together. In this one, he comes in, and it's almost like this is the first time that they're creating this alliance.
Yeah.
And then he does his not be our guest, be prepared speech that was so, but yeah, that one was one that struck me weird too, is because it didn't seem like there was a reason to do it that way, but they did, and maybe. I don't know, because he's like, "Hey, I sent you that food and you didn't eat them." And they're like, "Well, we'll just eat you instead." So they don't have that bond
Yeah.
yet. And then he's like, "Here's the deal. Here's what I'm going to give you. Come with me, fight with me, and this is what you're going to get." So that was the other thing. That's not what you were thinking, though.
no, I was gonna say, when Scar, when Scar pushes Mufasa off the cliff, if I'm not mistaken, in the first one, doesn't Simba see that, or is it that the remake makes it so well known to us that Simba, in some certain angle, can't see Scar and he just sees his dad fall? But I was like, I could have sworn Simba saw what happened.
He didn't.
In the animated. It was a
so
little
here's
weird.
here's the confusion. He didn't see it in the first take, right? So the
Yeah.
mountain is there. He's coming around the mountain. He doesn't see, like, okay, here's the mountain. Here's the mountain. He's over here. Mufasa falls down this way. Scar's over here doing his thing. So he's coming around this way. He doesn't see it happen. But when Scar tells him in the end, "I was the one that killed your father," he all of a sudden sees it in his head. He sees the whole thing happening, and he's kind of sees the thing happen. In the first part
Okay,
of it,
maybe
though, they
that's
don't
why.
show that. So that is a little bit of a disconnect in there. But yeah,
Yeah.
because all he sees is
Yeah.
his dad fall from the other side of the rock.
Yeah.
This is The Rock. Which, by the way, we're at 45 likes, so we're getting close.
Hey.
What? So then, I feel like that those are the things that I felt like were actually added to it that helped it, but there's not a lot that I thought helped it. Rafiki is a prick again. He really is. He's horrible. He does the whole thing about, hey, your dad's alive. He's back here. Come on. I got him right back here, man. I can't believe they do that.
You know what? Talking about that scene, though, talking about that scene and talking about them, like, elongating things in this movie and making things just longer, that particular scene in the animated seemed a lot longer than in the remake. Because in the animated, you clearly see them crossing, like, freaking Africa, honestly, and so many different, like, things. And then it gets to a point that he, like, even, like, stops him, and then he, like, shows him, and then there's thorns and everything. But in this one, it was pretty just fast, at least from what they showed us. It seemed not that far away from where Mufasa was, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So it's funny that they add scenes in these weird places, but then they cut that. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess.
Well, okay, I've got something else you just reminded me of that I wanted to try to find some way to show. I don't actually have a really good representation of it, but one of the things that, again, and I'm going to overuse the word iconic, that I think is iconic about The Lion King is that there's this symbol of Simba that he draws on the tree. Mm-hmm. And this is roughly it. This is just something I found in a quick search. But in this movie, they change it to look like this, and I don't know why they needed to do that, because I feel like the original is, again, so iconic that I'm like, you see it in other places. I mean, people buy T-shirts of it. I don't know why they would do that.
Yeah, that's weird. Actually, that jogs my memory. I wanted to ask you, because you just showed a T-shirt. Merchandise for this movie was just weird. I don't know, like,
This is for the Broadway show, though.
Yeah, that's Broadway, and that's very much like animated Mufasa there.
Oh, you're talking about for the live-action movie, it was weird.
Yeah. Because it was just, like, live-action lion plush, and, like, I don't, like a live-action, like, a real-life warthog plush and stuff. I was like, what is up with this? But you know what? That's what they had. They had a hard time also, I think, with the Jungle Book as well.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that one. I think that there was some stuff about this movie that looked very pretty, and I think that the warthog and the meerkat were, like, on point, which was kind of cool. But at the same time, you're right. Like, it looks like just a generic meerkat. Here's a T-shirt that they did that had, like, him stepping into the footprint.
Yeah,
it was very uninspired. There was a review that I read of this that said what this movie lacked was heart. Would you agree? Is that what it lacked? I don't know. I just think it lacked originality.
Yeah, I don't know, because, like, if it's basically copying the original, like the animated, is it lacking heart? Because the first one, I would say, had heart.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's what they're saying that the second one missed out on, was it didn't have heart.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think, to me, it was not different enough, and you took something I loved and you made another version of it. Not a better version.
Yeah.
Just another version.
Just another version. And
yeah, I didn't love that. So let's talk a little bit about a couple other things real quick here. One is that, again, the Lion King, the musical, is still playing on Broadway when Broadway is open. It toured. It is an amazingly beautiful thing to see. I love the music. I love everything about it. I think it was really well done. When it comes to the parks, I feel like that they still have work to do. I feel like Lion King is so Disney, so pivotal Disney. It should have a dark ride. Maybe it would be too dark. I mean, the first scene, Mufasa gets killed and, falls off a ledge. And then the second one, Simba's on his own in the desert. Like, I don't, like, maybe that's the reason. But it just feels like with all the music that they could cobble together some kind of a dark ride for that attraction, or for that one. It's somewhere, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it just doesn't fit. But I just, like, with the giraffes, I mean, it would just, I feel like that would be a fun attraction, especially in a park like Animal Kingdom that doesn't really have enough, like, rides like that. It doesn't have those experiences. I think that would be something neat to see. That's just a thought. Your thoughts?
No, I totally understand where you're going or from. I think that what we have represented for the Lion King, I think is good. I think that segment that we have in Fill Our Magic, great. I think Festival of the Lion King, I think that just embodies the Lion King just as a whole, and embodies just where the Lion King, lore and everything, like, comes from, and it's African, and we have it in Africa in Animal Kingdom, and then just the people that come out. I forgot what they're called. The ones that sing and stuff in the Festival of the Lion King, their wardrobe, their just everything just embodies the Lion King, and I think brings the Lion King to life without necessarily, like, doing, I guess, like, per se, the Broadway show. I think this is very much stylized to Disney, or like Disney parks, and I think it's such a good just representation just overall. I personally really, really liked, it was the puppet show that we had at
Legend
Magic
of the Lion
Kingdom.
King. Boom!
Legend of the Lion King, yes.
Yep. Where the
I
person
think
in the
just the
Rafiki
mixture.
costume holds up the little puppet and squeezes it, and its legs wiggle back and forth,
Yeah.
right? And then, like, the scene, the way that this was done, I thought was amazing. I feel like this, like, obviously the Voyage of the Little Mermaid at Animal Kingdom, I mean, not Animal Kingdom, at Hollywood Studios is a puppet show, but this one I think was next level, where the way that they did the wildebeest, the way that they did, told the whole story, the way that they did the transition from Little Simba to Big Simba, I feel like the whole thing was really well done. Even the pre-show, because you had Rafiki in the pre-show behind a scrim, kind of telling the story of Simba. So I agree with you. I think that was a really neat one. There was a Lion King parade. I believe that was in California that they had, and those are the floats that then came in to be the ones they use in the Festival of the Lion King show at Animal
Oh, that's
Kingdom.
cool. I didn't know that.
So that was part of a parade. And so Festival of the Lion King we've talked about. They also have the Lion King rooms over at Art of Animation. There's a whole wing of that, and I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty immersive. Art of Animation is one of my favorite resorts because, again, it's a value resort, but each one feels so different. Whether you're in Cars or whether you're in Nemo or whether you're in Lion King. I've never stayed in Little Mermaid, but all of those seemed like really fun. And then, remember when they took Rivers of Light and they were like, hey, let's throw Lion King in there? Did you ever see Rivers of Light with Lion King in it?
With Lion King, no.
Yeah. It was right near the end.
Yeah, okay, I was just about to say, it must have been that ending of Rivers of Light.
Yeah. Rivers of Light. I may have said Circles of Light. I don't know. So anyway, but yeah, Rivers of Light, the show before it, Jungle Book Alive with Magic. But this one was okay. Rivers of Light was okay, but I never saw the Lion King version of it, but I wanted to. But I think it was too little too late for that show. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Kite Show looks like. And then we had this. I don't know if you ever watched this, the Circle of Life and Environmental Fable that was in the land.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So again, I feel like they kind of done a Lion King dirty here. I feel like it deserves more than this, and at the same time, it's kind of all over. I agree with you. Festival of the Lion King, when Camp Mini Mickey was the only thing that we had before Pandora, and that was the only reason you would go in there. There was a Pocahontas show there for a minute, and that was kind of cute, and you could do meet and greets, but really you would go for the Festival of the Lion King. It was so popular that they included it so that they could have air conditioning. They used those floats. Then they built a new place for it in Harambe Village. That's kind of awesome. It's really a neat thing. But I feel like it deserves more. And maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe it's just enough. Maybe it's like having it here and there is just enough. I'm not really sure. So that's just my park speech. As far as like what's available on Disney Plus, we've got The Lion King, the live action-ish version, The Lion King, the regular version, Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, and then after that, even though it comes numerically after or before, is Lion King 1.5. Give me that live action. That was one of my favorites. Like, if you don't know Lion King 1.5, it takes place from Timon and Pumbaa's point of view, Lion King 1. And it's just like them, kind of given like their vantage point of what was happening, and it's kind of fun. They also had the Timon and Pumbaa, which is also on Disney Plus, the special or the series, which lasted a couple seasons, and then of course the Lion Guard, which was a Disney Junior show. Lion Guard. So I mean, there's plenty of Lion King to watch on there. I just wouldn't recommend at this point, and maybe we talk about that in a minute. We'll talk about our recommendations on that. Anything else that you wanted to discuss about this one before we depart here tonight?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. Yeah, we are good.
Okay. So let me just go in and say, I kind of had a chip on my shoulder coming in on this. By the way, I think we're at 49 likes. Can we get one more and we'll open this sucker up?
One more.
I know. So I kind of had a chip on my shoulder coming in on this one, and I watched both of them over like the past couple days so that I can really be fresh on this. Like, again, I've probably seen the original Lion King more than 10 times. Saw it in the theater originally. Loved this one. I owned it on VHS, owned it on Blu-ray. It's one that I'm very close to. And then the second movie came out, and I had high hopes. So that said, we've talked about both of them. I want to go to you and say, Eric Wolf, would you recommend both of these movies?
Both of them? I would say no. I will definitely 100% recommend the animated from the 90s. Such a great just film. I think not only kids would enjoy it, if it's like their first time watching it, I think adults will enjoy it as well. Just such a wonderful film overall. The live action or remake version of it, I don't know, like, unless you or your kids or someone that you know is really, 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 really interested only in the remakes for some reason and not the originals, go for it. It's basically the same story, kind of thing. But you're not gonna, I don't think, seeing the remake, I don't think you're gonna enjoy it, or you're gonna have the appreciation of everything like we were talking about in the parks. I don't think you're gonna have that appreciation of all these wonderful things if you just see the remake. So animated movie 100%, remake you can skip it.
Well, and you were talking about the merch, and you sent me this picture of this very undistinguishable, couldn't tell whether it was Lion King or a prize at the fair kind of stuff here. So, so if the merch is telling of it. So for me, I agree. Like I said, I haven't hidden that at all throughout this whole thing, is that I wanted to love this movie. I was hyped when I saw the trailer. I was hyped when I saw Jungle Book and then heard that Jon Favreau was doing this. Sometimes I hear a live action one, I go, Lady and the Tramp, are you sure? But something like this, I was sold on it because of Jon Favreau. I was sold on it because of loving the original, and I watched it, and I feel like there is no reason to watch the live action version. It's watch the trailer, watch the opening. It is beautiful. But then be done with it, because I think that we've established that the voice acting, the voice cast of the original is the one we prefer. And I don't know if it's because they were the first ones or that they just were mimicked in the second one. But the voice acting is better in the first one. The music is the same except for spirit, really. So, I mean, I think the music stands up the original. I really liked, just the heart that the first one had, and it just seemed empty because you don't see that expression on the characters' faces when it's supposed to look real. And so, again, huge props to everyone who worked on this movie, that it looks 100% fantastic, but it just didn't need to be made. And I want them to work on movies that people don't know already. I want maybe new movies. But, if you're going to do remakes of movies that people don't already, cherish and love, that haven't had this history. Let's bring back, Treasure Planet and see what we can do live action on that one.
Yes.
I just think that there are a lot of other opportunities out there. So I'm with you. Like, I literally watched this for you, man, because you picked it out. Because I only watched it once in the theater to be disappointed. But the original one, I will stand by that. I'll watch that one every day. I mean, it always is good. I do see other things in it when I'm watching it, like the sadness of Mufasa being drawn out, some of the intensity. The first one's rated G, the second one's rated PG. The first one, I mean, it's pretty rough. Like, I feel like kids can handle it, but I do think when you think about it as a G-rated movie, it's a little bit rough. So here's what we want you to do. We want you to comment below and tell us what you think. Tell us if you actually like it. And if we did hurt your feelings because you love this movie and it is your be-all, end-all and your bae, then I apologize. But tell us why we should think it through again. I want you to. I want to like things. So tell me that about this one. And then, when we have the comments below, we're going to pick somebody. We're going to have Eric pick somebody later this week to win this Wishable. So, and we've got our 50 likes. So thank you guys for doing that. It really means a lot to us that we get the thumbs ups, and even if we have to bait you into it, we're okay with that. I'm feeling fine about that. So, Eric, I got 4 opportunities here. You got Mater, you got Red, I'm doing them the opposite way. You've got Sally, and then you've got the vehicle from Radiator Springs Racers, because this is actually from Radiator Springs Racers in California.
Yeah.
And then the car can actually be, this one, can actually be 3 different colors. So there was a yellow,
3.
a blue, and a green. So looking at this package, can you get a vibe for what that might be from over there? You feeling something?
I think I'm going to say Mater.
Oof. I think that's a good guess.
Patrick agrees with me.
Patrick always does this wrong, though. I don't think you should agree with. I don't think you should listen. Patrick has not gotten one right yet. So, but next week he's got another opportunity, because we're gonna do for a after the July 4th on July 6th. We're gonna do Civil War as a review, because we needed to do a redo, because the last Marvel movie we did was Wolverine and it hurt him. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Boom!
Oh!
It is a Radiator Springs ride vehicle. Yeah. So that's actually the one from the package, the Radiator Springs Racers ride vehicle. And if, again, comment below, let us know what you think of the movies. Which is your favorite? What does Lion King mean to you? I mean, a lot of people grew up with Lion King, and it was the one that they went and tugged on their parents and said, play it again. Let's watch it again. More. You might have had a Simba doll or something like that, and maybe you watched the new one and you loved it. I just think that with remakes, they need to either go back to source material that hasn't been used over and over again, or they need to do a new story like Cruella. And so I'm anxious to see what you guys have to say. Thank you guys so much for doing this. Thanks, Wolf, for bringing this up. We'll do another versus at some point, and maybe it'll be Aladdin, because I feel like you've kind of like teased a little bit Pixar style that you might want Aladdin to be the next one. So thank you guys so much. Have a great night. Have a great week, and we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.